Welcome, welcome, welcome. Episode 35. 35, I'm pretty sure we're up to. I just wrote it, I forgot already. Of the Daily B Show with Matty B. And we've got Taunja Fischer and Leah here in the house today. Let me see it. Here they come, here they come. Now, I just want to double check I've got the internet's working here as well. So if you guys can let me know that, yeah, it's okay. Now, hello. Hey, Taunja. Now, I didn't mention we got to have our phone sideways, headphones in, and screen rotation turned on your phone settings. And yeah, Leah and Taunja are going to be dropping some nuggets and some pretty full-on story time with us today. So I was shaked and rattled and inspired when I first connected with Taunja, and to be able to bring these guys into your world and share what these guys have been doing and what they're up to is a whole another experience. And I'm really grateful to have these guys in my life and that they're open and willing to jump on and share that with us as well. So give me 1 second, let me just see here. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I know it's a bit windy in the background. If it's too windy, let me know. And if the internet's choppy, can you let me know that as well? Otherwise, give us some thumbs up, give us some hearts, and give us lots of love. Let us know if you're watching the replay or if you're on here live, where you're calling in from, where you're watching from. Hey, Chris. Yeah. Okay, so Taunja, I can't add you right now. So I think that if you've got an iPhone, you need to go into your phone settings and turn the screen rotation on. I think that was what would be stopping you from jumping on. If you're on your laptop, you need to get your phone. That's the only thing that would stop it. So jump out of the Go Live and then jump back in when you're ready, and that's what I'll do. It is a very warm day today. I put a shirt on especially for this occasion, so I hope you guys appreciate the Christmas wrapping that I put myself in today for this occasion. So let me just see here. I've been having some pretty heavy conversations with a lot of folk, and there seems to be a lot of patterns in the conversations that I've been having, and obviously that's no surprise. But I think the more we open up and allow ourselves to be vulnerable and expose our authenticity to people, the more we recognise that the people around us are really on a similar path. Here we go. I figured it out. Oh, okay, they've pressed it a lot of times, so we'll catch up. All right. Well, I'm on my phone. Okay, I see you. It looks like you've pressed add a lot of times because it keeps coming up for me multiple times. That's all. All right. Let's get you on here. Okay, request to join again if you can. See if you can request. You might be on your phone, but your screen rotation might be not turned on the settings. Just double check that, Taunja. And don't stress, this happens all too often. This is beautiful. Look in the background, they've got this beautiful lake here. One of the Gold Coast passages. See jet skiers coming past from time to time, little dinghy boats coming through. So I'm at the Lakeview Espresso Cafe down in Burleigh Waters at the moment as well. So if you guys want to have a really good feed and come get a good coffee if you're on the coast, definitely come down here and check this place out. It's a little hidden gem tucked away in Burleigh Waters. Hey Shantae, hey Lisa, great to see you guys. Just hanging out here. Oh, shouldn't put my feet on the table. Here we go. Hey. Let the magic begin. Here they come. I can feel them. Feel their energy flowing into this Go Live right now. Tanya and Leah in the house. Boom.
Oh my God, hold on.
Tell me
Wait
now.
a second. Now, how in the world do we both fit onto this tiny little phone? That's why I was trying to use my
You either
laptop.
step back or push it back.
Like back here?
Depth perception. Look at that. Yeah.
You'll never hear us.
Okay. Get close. Get close.
Here.
Okay, we're
Look
in.
at you guys. You're beautiful. Look at you both. I
Can
love
you
it.
hear us?
Blonde bombshells. Hello.
Can you hear
I'm
us?
joking. Of course I can hear you. Of course I can hear you.
Good guy. And thanks for wearing a shirt.
Yeah, we appreciate the show today.
I know. I know that you don't.
You're right.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on, for coming into my life. You know, we met, well, Tanya, we connected through Instagram, was that right?
Yep.
Yeah. And to have you reach out and sort of to connect, we sort of shared a bit of the love on each other's posts and recognized that there was some alignment there. And obviously you and Leah have a whole another story of alignment going on we're going to get into soon. But I think it's testament, like, you're over in the States, I'm down under, and to be able to connect like we have just through the power of social media, and really find people that we resonate with and that we're aligned with and on a similar sort of path and a similar journey is just fucking amazing, and I love it so much. And I'm really grateful that, you guys come into my life and that I've got an opportunity to share your story, to help you, and for you to help, likewise to help me as well. So that's what I wanted to start with by saying thank you to both of you for being here and for exposing yourself and for allowing yourself to be vulnerable in what you guys are doing. So to start with, just a quick intro for the people that haven't met you and don't know who you are. Who is Leah and Tanya, and what are you guys about?
Absolutely. And thank you for that fabulous introduction, Matt. We are very, very pleased to be with you today, and we appreciate you coming into our lives as well. So thank you so much. So I'm Tanya, and I've been on a crazy journey in life for the last couple of years, and along the way, I got very, very close to Leah.
Yeah. I'm Leah. My journey, I guess, started before. I guess I had more history with our unique situation. I was the first wife of the gentleman that changed both of our lives. Tanya was his second wife. So I got to share the first decade or so and go through a lot of very interesting up and down. And then luckily enough,
she passed him off to me.
Luckily enough, Tanya was able to also experience this incredible journey that I was on as well. And then we were able to come together after that had ended for Tanya.
In the aftermath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have then decided that our calling is then to write a book about our journey and about our stories.
Yeah.
100%. And it is an epic one too. And I've only heard sort of the cliff notes and sort of had, and that was enough to blow my mind. So like, I'm looking forward to the book that's coming out, the 2, potentially 3-part sequel of it. And also just to be a part of the movement that you guys are putting together, and just your energy and the people that you're really reaching out to, because it is something like 1 in 3 or 1 in 6 households have domestic violence in it. There's 1 in 3 women that have been sexually abused, 1 in 5 men that have been sexually abused, and there's a whole array of experiences that the majority of people have or are going through. And the more that we can bring a light onto these topics, and the more that we can share how our experiences impacted us, what we've learned from them, and how we overcome them, the more strength they get to draw from in whatever they've either gone through or are going through. So, Leah, you're the first one to meet this fine fella, and why don't you start with at the beginning of your journey in that sense, and take people through a bit of what we've been going through.
For sure.
Yeah. I think the hard part is you don't really know where to start. Obviously, he came into my life and I was very young. I was 19 years old. I was kind of looking for what my path in life was going to be. And
actually, can I cut you off for a second?
Yeah.
Can I jump in? Can we start with a bigger picture, just to start with, of So you guys are writing a book. You guys,
Okay.
these girls are starting a joy community, right? That is essentially going to bring people together in an amazing, beautiful way. But tell me in a nutshell, the bigger picture of where that came from and why you guys are doing what you're doing to start with. And then we'll get into the detail.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah. So two women married to the same guy, which you already figured out.
Yep.
In different decades, and because of who he was and what he did to us and how he impacted our lives in emotional and financial and spiritual and fortunately not physical ways. When we came together, we realized the power of the story that we had in front of us. And so that is what led us to say, you know, we need to share this story. We need to share this story with the world because we're probably not the only people that have gone through something like this. We have a crazy story, and there's certainly people that go, oh my God, that's so unbelievable. That sounds like a movie. But as far as finding yourself in a situation that is uncomfortable and struggling through very, very difficult, challenging times in your life, and going from, you know, everything is going right to absolutely nothing is going right and it's all wrong and it's a disaster, and you have to pick yourself up from the very, very bottom of that pit and get yourself out of it. That's where we've come from. And that's what we want to share. And then the evolution of that became the Joy community, which was, you know, for us, there's a reason why we're writing the book, and it's not just to tell a story and to have people go, oh, wow, that happened to you? Right. Yeah. Yes, it did. But the reason that we're telling the story is because we want to connect with everybody in the world who has gone through something or is facing challenges, and they can be like our challenge or something similar or something completely different. But just to feel that there is a community of people around you that lifts you up and supports you and will be there for you when you need it the most.
Yeah, I spent several years after I had split with him, and in between the time that then before Taunja had met him too, and then of course the time that they were together, where I had so many questions, and I felt so lost, and I felt like all of this happened to me, and that there wasn't anybody else who had experienced anything quite like I had. And so when Taunja and I were able to connect, and it was great because we actually connected through our daughters. I have 2 biological children with him, and of course they were part of Taunja's life as well. And the oldest one reached out and found Taunja during that time and connected the 2 of us together. And Taunja was willing to talk to me, which was awesome. And
she said, will you? It was the oldest daughter said, will you? Can I give your phone number to my mom so that you can see the youngest daughter? And I said, sure, of course. And then we get together. And I just got like 1,000 questions for me.
What was this? Did this happen? Or was it like this? Or what happened? You know, like, oh my gosh, this happened to me. And
I'm still stunned because I'm like, I don't know, my husband left me and I really don't understand how or why or anything. And I had $4 and a suitcase and she's like, yeah, well, so what about this and what about that? And I'm like, I don't know. And that was one day on the beach in San Francisco.
It didn't take us very long to share a lot of stories and figure out that we had been lied to in a lot of ways too, and that we were kind of working through what the truth actually was, and it felt so good.
Was that when you were still with him, Taunja, or after
he had left me already? He had left me already, and I didn't understand what she was talking about. I just thought he left me for another woman. And she started telling me all of these things that I didn't know at all about who he was and what he was all about, which was everything was a lie. It was completely fabricated.
Everything's a lie.
So can we go into some of those, for some of the examples of that?
Yeah.
And so just quickly as well, like what I want to just point out as well is the thing that you guys are creating and having such an amazing story, right, is that there are people that are going through their own stuff. Maybe it's not to the same extent, but the fact that you guys can set the example of how you can go through something so intense and so impactful and yet still have the mindset that you guys have, still want to be putting yourselves out there and actually reaching out and being of service and sharing your love with other people, is testament that's going to give those people strength that are going through this shit, that feel alone, that feel like there's no one, feels hopeless and helpless. And that's what I love about sharing people's stories and having this platform to be able to bring you guys on, is because I know that there's so many people that are just putting up with shit, that don't know what's going on, that feel like they're lost and alone. So I just want to, just again,
we
kudos and thank you.
Agree, and thank you for recognizing that and calling that to attention, because that's actually the most important thing to us every single day.
Absolutely.
Every word that we write in the book and everything that we put together for Joy is all about that, because we have people reaching out to us all the time, and when we were at the bottom of our,
the worst of
the worst, we reached out to a lot of people ourselves, and it made a huge difference, and that's why we want to turn that right back around.
And when I connected with Taunja afterwards, and when I had gone through a lot of time where I didn't have anybody I could talk to about the exact experience that I had, which when I was able to, I had worked through a lot of that. It was several years later, and it was the way I felt when we first met, when I could talk about how crazy some of the things that happened and what we had done and where I had been and what awful things had happened. And the fact that we could connect on that level, I knew then that we had something bigger with being able to have to share that. And it was a unique situation for me, because I got the first chance to be able to be there for Taunja and to learn who she was and to help her understand that it wasn't her fault and it wasn't about her, and that that this,
which was huge,
this is the way he is, and what I had tried to work through myself, and how much I would have absolutely loved to have someone to talk to when I was in that situation, and I didn't have that. And it goes on. Not only the things that we have had happen to us, but unfortunately it has continued, and we actually have connection with several people.
1, 2, 4 women after me that we have had connections with in some capacity, and have supported and helped them through the same situation.
And built some friendships on it. And so I know that when we get our message out there and we can connect with other people, even if it isn't the same exact man, there's a lot of experience out there. And I know that will be, that's why we want to build the community.
The people that are out there, and I just want to tap into back in that experience for both of you, where when we're in the despair and the bottom of the bottom, the pits of the pits, we do feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, or like there is no help, or that we are alone. But just wanted to shine a light on how we can join the dots looking backwards but not looking forwards. And so just to speak to those people that are still in some trying situations and some challenging and triggering situations right now, that just because you cannot see forwards the light at the end of the tunnel doesn't mean that this isn't happening for a massive, massive reason for you, to help you and guide you through something bigger and better in your life. And like you guys said, like reaching out and actually allowing yourselves, either allowing someone in to your life to help, or asking and putting yourself out there, is a massive first step. If you touch on that for me for a little bit, and your experiences from that point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say, first of all, for me, although that day was shocking to me, because I didn't understand at all what she was trying to say to me. It didn't make any sense to me at all, because I had 5 years of an experience that to me made sense, and it was my life, and it was my husband, and we did crazy things, but it was what I thought was real. And she was basically telling me that none of it was real. And I just thought, what are you talking about? I can't comprehend that, right? So that took a while for me to process, right? And so then what happened is, because he had left me for another woman, of course, I'm thinking it's the stereotypical, I don't know, whatever, the something else of greater interest, so off I go kind of thing. And then that woman reached out to me. So I became Leah, and that woman became me. And she said, I have questions. And I remember, well, you remember exactly when I texted and I said, what do I do?
Yeah, she texted me, said, she's reaching out to me. What do I do?
And
I said, you talked to her, right?
And I thought,
you talked to her.
I go, I have to help her, right? And I did. I had to help her. She had to know the same things. And so as soon as I did that, it was probably a similar situation, but I think yours was even more cathartic because it had been so long and so much inside of you. But it was that moment of knowing that I have something really, really valuable and really important that I can share with you, and you need to know this, because you have to know that it wasn't you. Same thing, the same words that she had said to me. It's not you, it's him. You have to know all the things that are wrong with him. And
can we paint that picture?
Yeah.
Can we start painting that picture so people know what we're talking about here?
Okay, so we're talking about a full-blown, pure con artist, a man who fabricates stories, who fabricates everything about who he is. He changes his name. He moves constantly. He looks for women who are looking for something different in their life, and he latches on to those women, and says, and paints this picture of all the things that he will take them to do, and that he will build for them,
experiences they will have.
The successes, the money, the exotic locations, whatever it is, he paints the picture that you want to hear as that woman that is looking for something different. You know, maybe you're bored, maybe you're stuck in a relationship that isn't working for you, or a job, or whatever it is, or maybe it's something even far worse than that, and you're trying to escape. But he'll find it, and he'll latch onto it, and then he starts to paint that picture so beautifully for what it is that you want to hear, and what you want your life to be.
He's very charismatic. He's a sociopath, and he's very good at what he does. I mean, he lied even when the truth wasn't anything that was bad. He'd lie because, and I remember him telling me at one point, well, that's what they want to hear. It's more exciting than the truth. Like, that's part of the experience. I was like, what? Like, we have to lie about things in order to make the experience better? He had and I would say a very powerful vibration. He was one of those that everybody knew when he comes into the room, and he takes over your whole life. He figures out, he brings out the best in you in the beginning too. I mean, he really does want to figure out what it is that you really want, and figure out how to make you sort of succeed in a manipulative way, so that then he can,
while simultaneously pulling you away from your family and your friends and anybody else that might influence you in a different direction than the direction that he wants to take you. Which is under his full control, and away from everybody else that you know, and the trust and all of those things, and he starts to turn you against them. So now you're being turned against your family and all your friends and all these people that you've had in your life for a very long time. And there's reasons why you can no longer trust, you know, them, and he's very good at convincing you of what those reasons
sells it very well.
They've done you wrong in this way and that way, and you know, you shouldn't be doing that with them anymore. You've been doing that this whole time, and that's not healthy for you, or whatever it is.
A master manipulator. And extremely well at reading people's emotions. So he was very, very good at what he did. And he still is.
And looking for your support in every way possible. So he wants your emotional support, he wants your financial support, he wants all of your support of him, so that he can succeed. Because once he succeeds, then your life is fabulous and glorious, and you're going to have all the things that you ever wanted, all the material things that you ever wanted, mostly.
Until you're no longer an asset, and then you are discarded quickly because he's off to the next.
Because you ran out of whatever it was that he needed. Which is usually.
So one of the girls asked, why do you think you didn't see his lies? That sort of answers it. Do you care to elaborate on that?
We didn't see his lies?
Why we didn't see his lies. Well, and that actually goes very deeply into why the joy community is what it is. Because I know for me personally, Leah's situation was similar but a little bit different. She was much younger than I was. My pattern in relationships, and I'll let you speak to your situation in a second. So
Sure.
my pattern in relationships was that I was not having a very healthy, strong relationship with myself. And so I was constantly looking for my partner, the man in my life, to fulfill the gaps that I felt that I had, right? So it was
Yes.
that I needed that other half, that soul mate, that other person that was going to make me the whole, make me have that perfect life that I had been looking for. And so because I was so sucked into finding that perfect person, I walked out of a relationship that was a very, very bad relationship for me. And I got connected to him because he was in so many ways the opposite of that previous relationship. And he was painting that picture for me that I wanted to see. So because I wanted to see that so badly, I didn't see the lies, and I didn't see anything else, or anything that I maybe thought like, that's interesting and maybe not what I would expect. I looked right over it because here was tall, dark, and handsome with all the right words. And so it was easy to avoid. It was easy to not see it.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, some of that is the same. I could see some of the lies too, but I was young enough, and I mean, I can't say young because you learn things at any age, right? I also was not comfortable with myself by myself necessarily. And he has a way of being able to create sort of a false sense of security in yourself for what he kind of helps manifest in your life. And that was a relationship with him was also very quick. I mean, we jumped in where you spend every minute together and you do everything together and it's go, 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 go. And before you know it, you're waist deep, and it's not long in it. Marriage and babies, yeah. So
how long were you both with him for?
I was with him for 8 years.
5.
But we had baby number 1 on the way about a year and a half into our relationship, which he did a pretty good job in the beginning. Some of the lies were a lot more subtle, and I started to see a lot more lies come out. But he's also was very, very good at justifying why he would say certain things, just like I mentioned earlier, where it was like, oh, well, that's part of the experience. Somebody just really doesn't want to hear the truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. It's so much more exciting. I'm enhancing their life.
Selling the picture,
himself, everything.
Selling himself.
It's in their best interest. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's older than me. He knows these things. He also did a really good job of letting me know what I didn't know. And the things I didn't understand, or the way he would present that as definitely more of a controlling type figure, and certain conversations that were more taboo. We didn't want to go there. And honestly, I was in a situation where once we had baby number 1, and there was a lot of things happening, and by the time I looked up and said, "Whew, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe this is something I shouldn't be part of." By then, I was so afraid to lose the idea of what we had made. I mean, it was what everybody else was going to see around me. It was what my life was going to look like, where on the outside, it had been painted perfect, right? We have these sort of societal stigmas that really keep us sometimes bound. And it was something that I was definitely at that point way too afraid to jump out of that. And fear was what kept me from probably staying and listening to myself more, and what I should have done.
Okay, so that leads into my next question. It's sort of 2 parts. I'll see your questions, Valerie. I'll get back to them as well. First of all is, okay, one of them is, I want to talk about, I'll start with the first one. Where's the silver lining? What was it that you learned? Actually, I'll put them together. And the second part was going to be, talk to me about the journey from being a victim in that situation to becoming a victor, and owning it and understanding what it's given you to be able to harness it as your superpower and not something that's held you back in life.
Superpower. Definitely superpower.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to go first?
Actually, just before we go into that, because that's a deep one, Valerie's just got a couple of quick questions, which I think we could just.
Yeah.
So, did he become abusive? So, no, physically not abusive, but as far as emotionally, financially abusive, yes.
Absolutely.
Right?
He
Correct.
was a master mental manipulator, for sure.
Yeah. And was the time with him fun at all? And obviously, he made it amazing at times. Because otherwise you would have been in that situation to start with. So that's the whole part of manipulation, is that they give you exactly what you want. They fill the entire room and the entire world with sunshine and rainbows and flowers and everything beautiful, and sell you the dream and make it absolutely irresistible. Yeah.
He was bigger than life. I mean, like when he first comes onto the scene, I mean, it's every fancy thing you can think of. It's things that that other people can't even put together, that he's able to put together and coerce people into getting them to do, to be able to build this sort of momentum and the things that we did. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen. And yes, so there was fun things. I mean, we went off and we saw all kinds of things. You had other experiences.
We spent 3 years traveling around the world on sometimes almost no money, and that was our adventures. I mean, it was adventures of a lifetime for me, because one of the things that I wanted was to travel endlessly, and he handed it to me on the silver platter, and off we went nonstop.
And for
weeks
me,
and weeks and weeks at a time, to the point that my mother, who just sent me a Christmas card the other day, and I called her and I said, "Hey, Mom, thanks a lot for the Christmas card." She says, "Well, I finally had an address for you." Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, true.
Love you.
Thanks, Mom.
They're
beautiful.
And it was a little bit different for me, but we did travel. We did go and do some crazy things. My family's very close. He was able to kind of pull some of my family members in and try and do some incredible things for them. Some of those things failed and fell right on their face. And then he'd have the ability. So not only were his highs really high, but his lows were really low too. And so there was times where it was like this sort of cycle of him coming up and going back down and up and down. And so part of you gets sucked into that emotional roller coaster. You want to be part of riding the wave up, because it is exciting and it is different. It's not like anybody else you've been around. It gives you a false high. And then you have the other side where you are supporting him in this down part, the two of you. I mean, that you talk about tragedy.
You've got $200 and you're trying to figure out how you're going to eat. And then he says, "Well, we'll just sell one of these, iPads that I bought on my account that doesn't have my name on it, so they can't track it, and we'll just sell it on the black market, and it'll be fine.
It's all going to be fine.
And then we'll have a ticket home."
Tragedy brings
Wherever home was.
Excitement.
And tragedy brings people together, right? Like there's some times where things are really hard, and sometimes that brings people together, right? Like you're supposed to be very tied in with somebody because what you've gone through is being, stuck in Mexico somewhere with $10 to your name and no way to get out, and not even like there's a quarter a tank of gas, and it's like,
that's exciting. That's adventure.
Oh, it's pure adventure with him. There is never a dull moment.
Yeah.
And we're not making these things up.
No.
No.
These are exact examples.
Some stories in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
List
Get
like
to
this,
the book.
Here, it's not like, can't fit it into the screen. But yeah, the book was just like, which story should we tell?
Yeah.
Because they all are approximately the same, which is the grandiose idea, the like, you can't live without this moments, right? And then oh no, how did we get here? How could this have possibly happened? Oh, I don't know, because you bought 50 pairs of Nike shoes when you only needed one. I don't know. How else do you think it happened? I mean, there's just these crazy things that you go through, but you can't help yourself because you're so sucked into it. And it really is exciting. You are living on his edge that he has created for you. And you're kind of like, it's like a drug.
Yeah.
You become hooked. You are absolutely hooked by what he wants to do. Now, her and I had, we have a lot of things to compare to, but we also have differences. Because she was at a point in her life where she wanted to have a family and be married and do that. And when he met me, I was at the point where I wanted to run free. And so we lived the gypsy lifestyle. And even though she has some of the gypsy stuff in her stories as well, there was a lot more of that, like, you know, she's got kids that she's got to take care of now, right? And I was like, go anywhere, do anything, I'm all in, whatever. You know, oh, we ran out of money. Okay, I'll get a contract for a little bit, make a little more money, and then we'll go spend it all again until we run out. Yeah. I mean, we would do the craziest things that you can't even imagine. Like, let's just buy all camping materials and go camp for the entire winter in Florida. And then 3 weeks into it, oh, this isn't working. Let's just sell all the camping equipment and go live in a condo. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
And what are we going to do next? I don't know. Nothing. Yeah. Play volleyball with the old people at the beach. Okay.
But it's this sort
but
of.
But it's a drug.
It's a high and a low and a high and a low, and eventually you find that it's not gonna work and it's not gonna last, or you see so many of the lies that you know you can't tell what he tells you. Anything he says isn't true, and that starts to really eat at you. And this gets back to your other question with where's the silver lining,
go to Victor?
And how do we move through that? Because when by the time you are at your lowest low, or he's either discarded you, or you've had finally enough of it that you're saying, I can't do this anymore, and I'm going to walk away from that. And that's your silver lining. It's also the low. It's a tough place to be. Where we have come from then is amazing, and that's why the Joy community is so important to us. Not only is it a place to support women who have been through any kind of thing like that. It doesn't have to be women either. It's just generally that's what most of the cases are.
We have a tendency, I believe, as women sometimes, because we come from programming to be married and have kids and things like that, and find that guy that's going to take care of us and so forth. I think a lot of those molds are fortunately changing in some places, but yeah. So to become the victors, to become the superheroes, it was a lot of very, very inward work. Really, really stopping and taking a look at, who am I? Because somewhere along the way, I lost all of who I was.
Lost our identities completely.
And my identity was getting lost before I met him, but he stripped the rest of it away, to the point that I didn't even know who I was when I was sitting on that train by myself, and he's on the platform telling me that he's going to come pick me up in 3 weeks in California, and I never saw his face again. And I'm sitting on the train, pulling away from the station in France, going, this is odd. And I didn't know who I was. I really, really didn't. And I ended up back in a place that I never wanted to be again, in California. I never wanted to be in the area again. And I just had to sit and think and look at myself. And that's been the superhero journey, is, who am I? Where did my identity go? What do I care about? What matters to me? What do I want in my life?
So who were you before meeting him, and who did you become after that experience?
So before I met him, I had become a person who was, as I said earlier, very reliant on having somebody else complete me. So the men in my life were there to complete me, to make me a more whole person. And when he left, because he was supposed to be my other half of my everything, right? And that was probably the fifth man in my life that was supposed to be the other half of my everything.
There's a lot of halves.
I was empty. I was empty and broken, and I didn't know who I was. And I tell Leah, and I tell other friends in my life, that I had to go back and look at where was the Taunja that I really loved? Where was the Taunja that I remember really, really enjoying? And she was way, way back in my teenage years and my early 20s. And that's where I had to go find her. because
sometimes people have to go back to their like 3, 4, 5 years old as children, even sometimes,
yes,
to find that place.
absolutely, absolutely. And in my journey, I lost my father right after my husband left, right after our guy left. And so it was a loss of a parent at the same time for me. And so I did go back to my childhood. And that's a great point, Matt, because I did end up in my childhood thinking about that girl that was, her, daddy's little girl. I mean, I was the firstborn, and I had dad all to myself for the first, almost 6 years. And so I was digging deep back into who I was and what I cared about and what I loved and what I treasured. And it was a long, long trip. All of 2017 was just being really, really sad and depressed and lost and finding myself for a long, long time.
Do you mind me asking how old you were when you split up with him, or when he left?
How old was I when he left?
Yeah.
I was 48.
48. So essentially from maybe 5 to 10 years old, or teenage years, up until 48 years old, was this sort of, sounds like this time of you losing yourself in life. And it wasn't until you had that epic experience that actually finally was your Mack truck experience, as I call it, getting smacked around by life to actually make you dive within and actually begin that journey of self-reflection and journeying back inside to fully accept and own and love yourself. So now you can be true to yourself. Would that be a fair assessment?
That's an absolutely fair assessment. Yeah. And I would say, somewhere in like early 20s, maybe I made it, mid 20, maybe 25, let's say, right? So
20 years
to 48. Plus. So 23 plus years of losing myself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But now I love myself so much that I don't care. And that's where joy came from. Oh, I love you too. But that's where joy came from, is that whole concept of, if there's only me, and that is the one person that is really, truly is always there. So just one you, there is just one you, and you have to love that person like there's no freaking tomorrow. Fiercely, because then nothing else matters. Nobody else can actually hurt you, and nobody can take you off track. Nobody can steer you in the wrong direction, because you are here with yourself.
You have your back.
Yeah. That's all of this year has been like, oh, me. I like me.
Yeah.
It's okay if there's nobody else. I like me. It's so fun.
And I popped out the other side of it too at 26 years old or whatever I was, 27. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't.
18, 19, you started seeing him.
Yeah, I was young.
And he was 6 years older than you.
Yeah,
right?
He was 6 years older than me. So, he had a little bit of age on me, but I didn't know what to do. And so I can't say that I fell out the other side and I became, the victor and did all this thing. Not really.
You were like
not immediately. Not immediately.
No, I mean, I was at that point, I was in graduate school. I was trying to pick up the pieces and pursue an education so that I could make a better life for my children, and so I could sort of figure out what in the world I was doing. I did jump into another relationship right away again. I was pretty damaged when it came to how to even have a relationship or even to trust. I was so broken when it came to trust. I think that was the hardest thing for me. I built some really big walls, and really, even though the people that my family was incredibly supportive, and I have a wonderful family, and that's probably what really helped me through that first initial part, where if I had nowhere to go like Taunja did, it would have been a really different experience for me too. I don't know if I would have come out the other side as well. I did have that support system. That's something that Taunja, you didn't really mention it either, but when she got back to San Francisco, she surrounded herself with the people that she had lost contact with. He is so good at cutting any ties with anybody who's important to you in your life, because he can be the only important thing.
People I hadn't seen for 5 years.
Yeah, so Taunja had to not only pick up the pieces of broken relationships of friends that she had had for a long time, because she had basically lost all of those while she for the 5 years that she was with him.
Yeah.
So that.
And my family was not happy with me.
No.
At all. So that wasn't the safe zone.
No. And so
Yeah.
for my case, I went through the motions of life. I did the things I think I was supposed to do. I did my best to raise my little girls and to really try and do what I could to make life go in another direction, because certainly I had been 100% derailed. And honestly, I was in another crossroads when I met Taunja again at that point. And actually I was in about 6 or 8 months of a lot of self-discovery, a lot of healing, and honestly,
we were both pretty broken that day last year.
2017, we were able to work a lot together to help each other, and 2018 has been a lot of healing, and a lot of that's where we really felt like we became victors in trying to tell our story, get out there, learn everything we could about what to do and how to support each other and how to figure out how to make ourselves whole again.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it sort of leads into a question that I had is, like, life throws us lessons, challenges and tests of initiation for us to strengthen our resolve and become the person that we are essentially evolving into. And sometimes the challenges that come up, we don't learn the lesson, we don't take it from it. And when we don't, it sort of cyclically comes up in different ways in different areas until, like you guys have done this year and last year into this year, is actually start diving within to find out what it is that this is all going on for and why it's happening. So it sounds like for you, Leah, it was actually the meeting of coming together of you two that was the catalyst for you to blossom into that sort of self-aware and into that self-discovery. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I was definitely on the journey already.
A bit before that, yeah.
Before I had met Taunja, but that was the catalyst to drive this story and to I already had that strong feeling, like I knew that my life was changing in a lot of ways and that I was going to be going on a different path, and when I met Taunja, that's when a lot of that part started, and it was incredible just the way that I felt being able to talk to her about this shared experiences that we had had.
Like we've been through several months already of our own individual self-discovery, and then end of August, I think it was, we have it as an anniversary. It's the superhero anniversary that we came together, and but it was several months, and then the capes came on, of working on our own, and then come together and say, oh my God, like what a difference this makes to just have you, this person who knows the same person, the crazy man, and the self-discovery and the all of this being revealed and to have somebody to talk about, and it's like, oh my God, so then all of a sudden it's sort of like, everything.
But that shared trauma.
Shared trauma, and then also a complete drop in our walls. I mean, we had to be extremely vulnerable with each other, and it,
especially when we decided to write a book about it.
I know. Well,
you're gonna have to tell me everything.
And of course, there's always this sort of animosity towards somebody else who is with somebody that you have been with. There's sort of, generally exes don't normally become friends. It's kind of like
exes don't usually have this sort of connection in this situation that they've been through as well. So ain't nothing normal about what's going on here.
There's nothing normal about our journey, for sure. Yeah. But what was really cool was just that we were able to talk about a lot of these things. Not only was it common ground for us, but we also became extremely good friends. And then that's where the sort of collaboration came, to be able to say, okay, we have a duty upon our shoulders to give this message to the world, because there is others out there who could benefit from
and every time another victim,
another woman
we became aware of, it actually almost contributed to strengthening what we were doing, because the woman that he went to after me, we're like best friends. We talk all the time. I went to visit her, we hang out, it's just like unbelievable, right? So he left me for her, but we're like this.
And that woman actually met one of the other women. It's just crazy.
And then, true. There's a couple of
there's no animosity between any of us. It's just like, Hey,
Okay.
so you had him too,
Yeah.
right? Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. That leads into a couple of questions I got here from a few
Yeah,
of the
we
watchers
can't see
as
the
well.
questions, so you'll have to read them to us. Sorry.
Yeah. So, were you abusive to each other? That's a clear no. Was it, or was there a moment? Was there times where?
To each other?
Yeah, you girls. Yeah.
No.
No.
No, I love her.
Of course. Do you think he was trying to save you but couldn't?
No, he couldn't save
No.
himself. Absolutely
Okay.
not. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious what's meant by that though.
So I think what I would
save me from.
So like people see from whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in life, I guess, like wherever you were at that time, some people like to be the savior, and so like take the baby lamb under its wing and guide them through whatever to salvation and to a better
He
life.
sells it that way.
He wants it to look
He
that
sells
way.
it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Unfortunately,
He sells it that way.
He
Cool.
wants it to
And
look.
you believe it, and you think like,
I bet.
oh, this is so great. This is so great.
Everything
I am
I've been
like
looking
out of all of that shit that I didn't want to be a part of anymore. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
But all he wants, all he wants is the adoration of you telling him how wonderful and fantastic he is. And unfortunately,
And you guys probably told him, yeah?
Oh yeah, you have to.
You have to be his cheerleader.
You become his cheerleader.
No, I mean like even before that, like even meeting him, you would have said, "Oh man, I hate doing this. I can't wait to do that," and he would have just grabbed that and just like regurgitated the shit back to you in this beautiful, articulated way that just rolls off the tongue. You're like, "Oh my god!" Like
exactly,
and
just like that.
And unfortunately, he would love to. I mean, his whole goal in life would be to be the savior of anyone and everything, but it's 100% self-serving for himself.
She said no, she and he as well.
What?
Sorry to cut you off. She said, so did you guys, what was the question? Were you abusive to each other? I think you asked that before. So there was no physical abuse. It was just that obviously manipulation and emotional.
Correct.
Yeah. And the emotional abuse was definitely debilitating. In a lot
and that's
of ways.
worse from everyone I've spoken to that has been physically and emotionally abused and both at the same time. That it's mainly women that I've spoken to, but they say like the physical abuse is the stuff that people want to hear about because it's the tangible stuff you can see, but it's the emotional abuse that lasts much longer. It's much more intense to go through because you doubt yourself, you don't know what the fuck's going on, you think you're crazy, it's all sorts of stuff comes up.
It's the part where you're hiding things and you're lying for him and you're doing these things because he's got you stuck in a situation where if you were to tell the truth, then you're going against what the two of you have built. Like it is so damaging.
And for me, and I think you felt this too. It was to that point of it just felt morally wrong, and yet I couldn't stop being a part of it because I was choosing. My choice was my husband. You know, it's like, no, this is the man I love, and I'm choosing him, and he's convinced me of all the good reasons to do it. But deep down, I knew it was against everything that I value and all of my morals. It was, and that's when that switch flips, and you're rebuilding, and you're trying to find the Tanya from 12 years old that had those things, those morals in place.
It is so hard.
You're just thinking, oh my God, how did I let that be okay?
I think it's a huge guilt and ashamed.
Absolutely.
You are so ashamed of what you let somebody bring you along for. I mean, Tanya and I have always been, even as young people, where we always felt strong. We always felt like we could help.
And I did everything right. I did everything by the book.
And when you go through something like that, you fall out the other side and you are just so ashamed at where you ended up and what happened and how you could let somebody do this. And you feel, and both Tanya and I we're not stupid by any means, but you feel so dumb. Yeah. You feel like how
you ask yourself the questions that your audience is asking right now, which is, how did you not see it?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But
I do now, but
of course.
because
so hard.
because I had
in
the
to
moment.
out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that's the time afterwards that you fall out the other side, that you're like, you know, maybe life isn't worth getting out of bed for. Like, this is not where I want to be. Like game over. I didn't do this right. I messed this up so badly that, where can I go from here?
Point of no return. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just want to start over, you know, like I just, maybe another lifetime or something. Like, you
have to start to you have to stand in front of people and say, I completely fucked up, and I am really sorry, and I've never ever done anything like this to you as my friend or my family member, and I can't be more sorry than I am right now, and there's not enough words to make it right, and all I can do is change my actions and who I am, how I operate going forward.
And we're writing these stories, and I'll tell you, there's a few stories that when you go back through this, and some of these stories have been 20 years for me, but you know, since when it first happened, and I am looking at my 19-year-old self and thinking, oh my gosh, what are people going to think of what?
You're still judging it a bit?
Oh, I had to. That was a tough spot for me. Taunja helped me through that part. You know, I remember we were talking about.
We do what we call crying. It's when you're crying while writing. So there are crying moments, and you know, and it's like, hey,
I can relate.
Hey, I can't get through this one.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
There was some spots early on in some of the stories where I was like, you know, Taunja, I don't want to write this, but I also feel it's very important in the story, but it's very vulnerable to me. It's me admitting that this was really not a good experience. And look, not only did I
admitting that you were breaking the law in some cases. I mean, things like that you're just like, holy shit, how was I doing that?
Yeah. How did he convince me that this was okay? And then fortunately in my situation, there's a few times where I jumped in again, and I did it again, and I was like, what?
Oh yeah, she took him back.
People are gonna look at me sometime, and I did a lot at that
Leah.
beginning, and then we got to a point where we said, you know what? You know, Brené Brown, all the vulnerability stuff, you know, all that great stuff. And we were like, you know what? This is a story that needs to be told. It's my story, and I own it. Yep. I did it. And actually, it's not who I am now to who I was then. And if I am honest, and if I tell the full story, there's other people out there that are going to get strength from that and know that we definitely opened up to some things that we're not proud of, for sure. And it's not who we are now, and it's
a necessary part of our own growth as well.
Yeah, owning it, absolutely one of the most critical parts. You have to accept it and just say, "Yep, really screwed that one up." Yeah, big time.
I tell Taunja that
I never made mistakes in my life. You see?
Yeah.
I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken.
Exactly.
I tell Taunja that the universe puts a lot of challenges in front of me because I just don't seem to get it. And sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 times with the same challenge.
You say it's banging you over
it usually hits me in the head several times. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got it now. Shoot.
But you get it. But you still get it.
Yeah.
So another question we got is, do you think he got high from seeing you guys happy, but in his own mental issues, he couldn't be consistent? And does he see the children?
Huh. Yeah.
Did he get high seeing you happy and couldn't be consistent? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for him, it was that he made that happen. Mm-hmm. That he created that environment for you know, so when I was having a great time, it made him feel good that he had made that happen.
If you weren't having a good time, he's asking you why you're not having a good time. Well, isn't this good enough? Well, what did I not do? Well, what, you know, it was like, whoa, you had to constantly, even my daughters, when they were little, they knew that they had to shower him with praise for things that he had done. And it was very much, you know, they learned that, fortunately, one of mine was very young, so she didn't see quite as much of that as the older one did. There's 5 years between the two of them, but he got a lot of power, a lot of confidence out of that, the adoration that was being given to him for something that he could do that nobody else could do. And
cool.
Because of course he didn't get that in his childhood.
Yes.
Naturally,
he did see the children off and on after he and I split for a little while. Tanya obviously knew the girls,
Yep.
and
The
one of
youngest one lived
the youngest one
with
stayed
us.
with them for several months too.
Almost a year and a half.
Well, but in
Oh, yeah.
but and he
20, it's been 3 years.
yes.
He decided to no longer see his kids.
Yeah, child support finally caught up with him since he never paid, and he did that as a direct. It was completely against me, and it was the catalyst actually for you guys to go off to Europe and disappear for several years because he didn't want to pay child support.
He needed to leave the country and never see the children again because he owed child support.
Yes, and that was not that was just unheard of. He couldn't. He worked it out in his head that was me coming against him, and I was keeping the kids for a financial pawn, which never the case, obviously. But he hasn't talked to them since 2015. Yeah, 2015, I think.
Okay.
And they are 13, 15 now.
Can I take it back a little bit to something you guys were talking about and pose a challenge to you and see where it goes? And it's respect to... Oh, how are we going? Is the internet still there?
My bad for not...
What was that?
Sorry. No, go back to what we were saying. Apologies.
Tell us the challenge, sorry.
Okay. So in respect to you guys now discovering your own inner power and really loving yourselves and owning where you are and who you guys are, a conversation that I've been having quite frequently has been around self-love and how everyone's all about, I love me and I talk to me with good self-talk and it's all about me. But when actual fact, if we recognize that we are connected to everyone and everything, that there is no separation, that we are one with everything. So if we go, I love myself, but then we go for a walk down the street and say, I don't love that guy, I don't love, the traffic's annoying, that dog pisses me off, that person frustrates me, that's essentially speaking to ourselves in that manner. And so if we're not showing and showering love upon everyone and everything inside and outside of us, essentially we're speaking to ourselves in that, with that animosity, with that disdain and that unsupportive nature as well. Can you share with me where you guys sit and how you feel about that and where you go with that?
Well, I would say for starters that if you are picking apart the rest of the world and complaining, you don't love yourself. You don't have a good relationship with yourself. That's the starting point. That is absolutely our belief. Because where we come from is a place that is when you are having that good, strong, healthy relationship with yourself, and we can talk a bit more about what that means to us, but when that falls into place and it's truly understood, everyone and everything is beautiful and perfect and accepted, and they can be whoever they are. And maybe some little thing that they do isn't something that you really like to hear, but that doesn't make them annoying or any less of a human or anything else. It's just their own little quirks, and there's plenty of quirks that you have that are equally, bothersome to somebody else, but that doesn't matter. None of those things matter. At the end of the day, we are all human. We are all creatures. We are all connected. Absolutely. All the animals, all the humans, all of us are interconnected. That energy flows through all of us. I mean, we are the creators of this universe, without a doubt. And really, truly that, and we actually are a little bit, it's not that we don't like the phrase self-love. It's just kind of like what you said. It's everyone's using it now, and we feel like, do you really know what that means? And that's why we kind of keep reiterating the relationship with yourself. The focus is there is just one you, and you need to love you, and it has to do with, like, I love my physical self, my emotional self, my spiritual self, and if there is not a single other person around me, that's okay, because I just have me. And I'm great with it, you know, and everybody else is fine too, if you really just sit back and watch the world go by and watch the people and the humans and the patterns and all of the things that we do, it's all the same. Yeah. Everybody's doing the same thing, which is interacting with each other, living life, making sure that they have clothes and food and shelter and a good laugh, and it's very simplistic if you really stop and look at it.
And some of those
When you break it down.
and some things that come up during the day, those are little challenges that you have to work through. And, you know, sometimes your perspective is a whole lot different when, you know, you knock your tea off of the counter and it falls all over the place.
She's referring to the chai latte that I put all over the hotel room floor earlier.
Sometimes it's
Name and shame.
She stepped on it with her socks and went, "Why are my socks wet?"
So
But she loves me anyways.
I
You see?
I do. But sometimes those things, when you are feeling good about where you're at, your vibrational energy, the love that you have for yourself, it radiates to everything else. And some of those little challenges along the way are so much easier to take, and you just brush them off, and it's not a big deal. And I think that's what we are definitely all about: self-love, loving yourself, because that has been monumental in our journey this last year, for sure.
Because it can be as simplistic as knocking off the chai latte onto the floor. And I know people who that would like, "Oh my God, I made a mess."
Ruin their day.
I ruined I lost my drink that I paid for, and I made a mess, and this is like ruining my whole day, right?
Yeah.
And it can be as small as
100%.
that, or it can be as big as a crash in your car, or whatever it is that happens.
As the story that you're telling in your book, it could be as big as that.
We don't hate him.
And that's why I wanted to bring this conversation up as well, and just shine a light on that, because it's too easy and too many people fall into that comfortable space of just naming and shaming and being a victim and going, I love myself, but fuck all these things outside of me, and not actually opening up to that and giving themselves the excuse and the reason why to maintain hate and disdain for other things that is just cancerous and going to create disease within them. So I'm really glad you went there. And there's another question, and after this we'll want you guys to share a bit about what you guys are up to with the Joy community and how they can connect.
Okay.
Valerie asks, so in the same vein, can you be a victim?
I think we absolutely were victims.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a victim, and I spent some time in that place too. I mean, I own that too, for sure. And I wanted to mention that too. We don't hate him.
Thank you for all your questions, Valerie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We don't hate him in one way, shape, or form. Actually, we're grateful that he was part of our lives. I mean, not only is he the father of our two little girls,
He's the catalyst for major change.
For major change.
And we appreciate that.
And we wouldn't have the relationship we have had he not been in our lives.
We wouldn't be writing a book, and we wouldn't be building the Joy community, which we think will have a huge impact on the world.
Now we have something that is so important to us that we are willing to leave the jobs that aren't fulfilling us in many ways and move towards something that is so much more powerful and be able to be part of a change, something that I mean, we're human guinea pigs. We love to try stuff on ourselves first to see if it works, and to be part of a movement that is building something like that. It makes, when you wake up in the morning, it's a different world that we live in now than we used to live in, for sure.
Don't doubt it.
It's
100%.
We know you know.
Yeah.
The man of many jobs and education.
Oh mate, 100%. So share where the guys can find the Joy community, where you guys are going. When are you committed to releasing the book? I want a commitment. Leah, I'm looking at you. And and so when can we see the book on the shelves, and how can these guys connect with you?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so
go ahead, because I'm going to let you pick the timeline. We are. My timeline is always much tighter than hers.
Yeah, she's definitely tighter than I am. We are hoping to have the book done and published and out there for everybody by the end of March.
No, Leah, I didn't ask when you're hoping. Yeah, I didn't ask when you're hoping to. I said, when are you committed to having it out?
March, end of March. We're gonna do it.
It's coming. It's coming.
You heard it here first.
And the future is it's the book followed by the second book, and definitely there's a movie in there.
We want.
Absolutely.
Right.
Has it got a title?
It does. It's called The Thief of All Things.
The Thief of All Things.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Everything.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and
thanks for the scoop.
And you can find us at joy.community.
Joy.community. And on Facebook? Is that?
Yep.
Facebook is joy.community. Our website is joy.community. Instagram is joy_community, I think. And Twitter is joy_community. And everything basically just got launched about 4 days ago. So it has no content and it's not that good.
Well, we have to, honestly.
But it will be.
It is the birthplace of magic.
Matt,
it is magic.
Matt, we have to thank you, because knowing that we had this coming up meant it was time to get the time to make the web page, time to get the social media up. I mean, we have been working like night and day doing a lot of these things.
We don't sleep.
Yeah.
No. And we're working full time in and around it, 100%. Trying to make sure we can make ends meet. But it is
Passion.
absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mate, when we get out of our own way, when we feel our arsehole sweat and we know that that's what we got to do and we jump into action, magic does
30
happen.
day go live.
Does.
Yeah. And
30-day go live. Yeah.
If we would go back and look at how much time and energy it's taken for us to write the first 3/4 of the book where we're at right now, oh my gosh.
I bet.
It's a huge undertaking for sure, and I don't, you just have to keep going away. And we know, and what's pushing us is the joy, the vision of our joy community, and being able to interact and to be able to help people through something that we've been through. It's our passion for now.
It was a beautiful moment when we sat down one day after Simon Sinek, because we love him, and we said, why are we writing the book?
We need our why.
We need a why.
Did you read his book? Begin with why?
We began with why. So that's...
Yeah, you did it together?
Yeah.
It's a powerful book, eh?
We do everything together. No, not everything. But
almost.
A lot now, for sure.
That's the next episode. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's book, movie, and simultaneously launching Joy, because we wanted to start to get the momentum there. And really the relationship is that for us, the Joy is about that, promotion of that healthy, beautiful relationship with yourself, and really truly understanding what that means and how to get there. And that's what Joy is about. The book is to tell stories that say, here's how we got here. Here's what we went through. Here's how we got here. And this is what we're trying to achieve and what we want to share with the world. So the books are there to tell the stories, and the community is there to actually propel that forward and support as many people as we can. A safe place
that people can go and bring about resources that will be able to help. And I mean, that's not going to be all us, obviously, but we know that community is going to be part of what it's going to be synergistic for sure.
And it's writing itself as we go.
Yeah, it is.
100%. And just like this, I mean, there's going to be so many people come out of the woodworks that are going to collaborate with you guys that are just, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know who you don't know. Oh, yeah, I know, right? It's so exciting. So many people are aligned. Yeah, 100%. Oh, it really is. It really is. And I guess one thing I want to pass on from the last little bit that has really come out for me and that I've really learned and lent into is the need to let go of the need to be perfect, and to be in action and putting something out there that, to me, what I think isn't perfect or what I think's choppy and not exactly what I would have ideally liked in the perfect world, it's still, it has its benefit, because at least it's putting it out there for people to get something from straight away. And instead of holding it to myself and not letting that energy out and not letting people draw from that straight away. So I hear you talk about how much time and effort and critiquing you've done with this book. But I was like, I'm so glad that you've been able to go balls deep, put a timeline on yourselves and commit to that, because I and everyone here will hold you guys accountable, and because we believe in you. And so, I mean, you're going to tell I was saying to Tanya, you're going to tell your story so many times in so many different ways, long versions, medium, short versions, written, copy, videos, audios, all sorts of ways. So it's going to come out in so many different ways, but the book has been like the catalyst to really accentuate that, get it together. But you guys are going to tell it so many times. You're going to look back on this book and go, holy fuck, that seems like so long ago that we wrote that book. I've told it like 1,000 times.
We've recently had that conversation.
Yeah, exactly
That
right.
was so 2019.
Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely,
exactly.
Matt. It's such an excellent point, and
Thank you.
We appreciate the love and support and the accountability very much from you and from everybody.
Yeah.
Because we know that we have to put it out there, and we know that it doesn't have to be perfect. Those are big, tough lessons that we've learned along the way, because both of us fell into that trap in the past.
Yeah.
I ran a company with a person that was like that, and it's so funny because one of my favorite sayings that I came up with last year after the whole floor falls out from underneath.
Hitting the fan.
I said, here's the deal, because somebody said, well, like, I think it was actually somebody asking me a question about it, like, Taunja, how can you do this, or how can you, whatever, handle it, or whatever it was. And I said, here's the deal. There is not one thing that I can possibly do at this point going forward that would put me in a worse position than I've already been in. Nothing. I will never again have $4 in one suitcase and no home, and practically going to sleep underneath an overpass if it wasn't for a friend who said, oh, you can stay as long as you need to. And I still live with her.
Yeah.
So there's nothing, absolutely nothing that I can do, say, publish. None of it. There's nothing that I can do that would be worse than where I was.
Yeah, we already hit the low.
And you were there too.
Yeah. Oh, my brother. I remember my brother turning to me right after all the fallout of that. And he said, man, I don't know anybody's life who's worse than yours. I was like, really? Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
He's like, there's
How
only up
strong
from here.
you must be.
There's only up
what I
from
mean?
here. I was like, I guess that's the silver lining.
Yeah. And with the perfection as well, I'd challenge it and say, well, everything is perfect. Exactly the way it comes out, exactly the way it's created. So it's not about trying to make something perfect. It's just accepting what the creation is coming through you. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Here has been that spiritual connectivity, the law of attraction, the fact that you're, amor fati, right? You love your fate. You just accept and love every single part of it, and just know that it's everything is happening exactly the way it's supposed to. We know that. We know that when we sit down to write, it's not us.
Oh,
it's all of us.
It is cool.
It is all of us that's writing this, that's making this happen, that's bringing this to life. It's not me. It's not Leah. We're puppets.
That's been really exciting for me too. I'm definitely. I mean, I have a science background. I spent a lot of years in school. I have to question everything, and this process has made me throw so many of those things out the window because.
I bet.
Yeah. I mean, there's times when I sit down and I'm like, where is this coming from? Or times where Taunja and I have connected, and we can do that. I mean, the incredible part is we're not together very often in the same actual space. We do a lot of what we do is over video calls or telephone, and we can feel the energy of what we're doing when we talk on the phone and when we work through some of the parts and pieces that we do, and it's been an incredible experience.
We'll get together after not seeing each other for 2 months and have done the exact same things and thought the exact same things and taken all the same notes and go, really?
Yeah. It's weird.
True.
It's
synchronistic. Harmony.
And we know it's out of our hands. It's not us. It's bigger than us.
It's trusting.
And now we're like, okay, well, we're just pawns now. Like, where are we going? What are we doing?
We're along for the ride.
Universe, tell us where we need to go now.
So on that note, what's something that you'd like to share with the viewers and the people that are watching that you'd like a message or a note that you'd like to leave them with or wherever they might be right now?
You're never alone. You're never alone. There's always somebody who's got some kind of experience like you do or can understand.
You have a community.
On some level, there's always somebody there. Whether you don't have a tribe or a family or whatever, there's people out there, there's groups out there, there's incredible support, and you have more support in you than anything else. And learning that has been so valuable.
Yeah. You have a community.
Would you like to add to that?
I mean, I couldn't have said it better, to be honest.
Okay. Beautiful.
She makes me tear up.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for, again, jumping on here with me, getting together in the one space. I feel very lucky that I'm able to get both of you together. Like you said, it doesn't happen very much. So that's amazing. Opening up, sharing your story, being vulnerable enough to put it onto paper and really do what you're doing. So from me and from everyone else that's going to benefit from you guys and the experience you've gone through, thank you again. Thank you guys for tuning in. For all the questions, hit these guys up. They're obviously here for
thanks
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. And see you guys on the flip side.
We got to go live.
We're going to go live.
We got to go live after this.
So yeah, jump onto the 30-day Go Live if you're not already, guys. Come join us.
We're going to
Take up the gauntlet, do the challenge, and follow these guys. Go
We got to do it. It's got to happen. Matt, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And to everybody watching now and in the replay, we really appreciate you. We love you. We're here to support you, and we feel your support for us. So absolute gratitude. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Much love, guys.
Much love.
Keep it real. Bye.
Bye.